Hello, Brian Breaks character listeners. This is not Brian. This is Summer Maston, and you may have listened to me before, or you may not have. But here's the skinny. I work with Brian, and I'm an actor myself, and I'm here with him on this late autumnal morning in LA. We're sitting down for a little fireside chat. Just to give a lay of the land, a weather report. We're coming up towards the end of the year, which stirs up a lot of things for a lot of people. And I think actors, especially, we're heading in for our first pilot season in 2 years at the top of 2022. And I feel like the question that is on everyone's mind is, what do I do?
And I hear the pain in your voice when you say that. Yeah. And it's so when you say that, I think that that's a question that a lot of actors wrestle with, because that question can always be on your mind. And oh, hi guys, I'm here. Just want you to know, I'm here with Summer. In Summer, this was an idea we had to come on and kind of talk about this, because there's this productivity addiction, I think, that we all have around, like, I need to be doing something. I need to be doing something. If I'm not getting auditions, if I'm not working as much as I want, then there's probably something I should be doing. And I kept seeing actors like fall into the trap of doing kind of busy work. Administrivia is a word that people throw around sometime. Stuff that doesn't make a difference. And a lot of it becomes, so I'll give some examples. So like, I'm going to keep looking at my headshots over and over again. I'm going to keep looking at my reel over and over again. I'm going to assume that I should call my agent and get on their ass because they're not getting me enough auditions. Like, it's just a cycle of those things over and over. Like, maybe I should do another self-tape. Maybe that self-tape maybe I should invest in another microphone. Maybe it's like again and again, and it just goes in a circle. Or maybe my acting class isn't what's working. So it just becomes this like shitty. I mean, I hate saying these words out loud because I'm sure I'm like stirring up feelings for people as I say them, but like, it becomes this like crappy space of, what do I need to do? How do I crack this code? And the first thing we need to let go of is the perception that there is a code to crack. There is no simple answer to this question. And that is why, I'll just kind of like pull back the curtain a little bit on what we do around here, and Summer can back me up. Summer's been on every single call I've ever had in any of our programs over here. And we have three different programs. One program is devoted to getting you an agent. One program is devoted to getting you more auditions through your casting profiles. And the other one's a coaching program. And I'm on these calls, like, getting an agent is a very clear goal. Fixing up your casting profile so you get more auditions is a very clear goal. Coaching, which is where I think a lot of people, we get people reaching out to me to do private coaching all the time. And I devote all my time to the programs. And so when people reach out about coaching, it breaks my heart to be able to say, I can't take on a private client. Would you like to join a group or something? That's the way I can usually serve them. But the reason why I think coaching is so powerful is it's meeting you where you are when it comes to what's exactly happening inside of your career. So before we just get into, like, this is not a commercial for coaching, I want to be clear. I'm just wanting to say that, the reason why coaching exists is because your career changes day to day and week to week, and to clear up some of that noise. So if we're willing, so stay with me here, people, if you're willing to let go of the idea that this will crack the code and suddenly I'm just going to be under the waterfall of auditions all around me and it's going to be amazing, right? If we let go of that, then what that means is one of the ways I might think about this, like, to use a metaphor, is like, we're just kind of going outside and looking at the weather. Oh, the weather today is, I haven't had an audition in a while. Okay, so rather than ascribing meaning to the cloudy sky, because it's just a cloudy sky, there's no meaning behind it, right? Great. It's a little bit, so it feels like it's fall around here. Great. So how do I want to relate to fall? Great. So I'd like to get some more auditions before I just start saying, what did I do wrong? Or where can I spin my wheels? That's where I think you need to, I'm going to steal a phrase that people use in AA, which is your own best thinking got you here. And so if you're relying on your own best thinking, I think that sometimes can be a trap, because hello, who wants to be vulnerable? Hello, who wants to like put themselves out there? Who wants to take up space? No one. So what we do is we engineer small risk. So we're like, okay, I'm going to look at my headshots. I'm going to look at my reel. And Summer, I'm curious for you, you just got back from shooting a film. Like, you were on a film that probably was a huge high. You're probably still floating on some of that high, but you tell me, like, where are you now with those feelings? Like, how are you doing right now?
I'm doing good. I'm feeling confident But I'm also feeling like maybe it never even happened. I'm also in the exact same place. It's going to take forever to get the footage.
Right.
I mean, maybe not forever, but
right.
I put the line on my resume, but to be able to have like the footage in my hot hands and like, it's a very specific category of footage as well that I'll have.
Right.
So God, what a depressing answer. But it's like it never even happened. Because the change is actually internal. I feel the internal change. I feel more confident. Like when I went to the doctor yesterday and they asked what I do. And I freaking said I'm an actor because I just got back from shooting a film where it was my job, my main job every day.
Right.
And there are other times when I might not say that.
Yeah. Oh, I hear what you're saying. So, and what I'm also hearing inside of this is from without, we have validation from within, right? From something without.
Yeah.
And I know we don't want to be that way. No one wants to be that way, but it happens to all of us, right?
But totally. It makes my day when I get an audition and I want to own that. I don't want to feel oh, it's just the weather. I can't even be happy about it.
Right.
It's cool that it makes my day.
Totally.
At the same time,
Yeah. And that's an important thing to notice. So when I'm saying what I want to make, that was such a good distinction you made there, because I think, of course, you get excited that you got a film. And of course you get excited that you get an audition. And of course you have full permission granted to have all that excitement around. The part where I think we have to be careful is what you just said, like, how much can I eke out of my validation of this thing that I just had, where I'd suddenly write myself off in 2 months because I didn't book something. Like, not that I'm trying to manifest that for you, obviously, but like that I didn't have something recent. Right. And so that is why, so I'm going to get really specific around, I'm going to talk about coaching for a second here, I think, because this is because that's what I do. And that's what I love to do. And I'm going to speak about coaching for a second, because the thing that I love about coaching and the way that I like to work about actors is I want you to leave every coaching feeling more confident in yourself and in your purpose, clear that what you're doing makes a difference, and that you realize the consistency. So like for you, there's consistency of showing up, right? I'm getting auditions. I'm putting myself on tape. I am working on every audition. That's a consistency that you're already giving into your career. Right now, you happen to have like the joyous abundance of some confidence floating around because you booked something, right? And one of the things that I would hope coaching, I don't want to say coaching gives you confidence, but coaching can at least give you the clarity to rely on your confidence. Like a little bit more like, I'm allowed to be confident because I know what I'm doing. Right. And so one of the things that I think that, we were kind of talking around here is this program that we have called Actor Operating System. So I'm just going to use it as an example right now. So an Actor Operating System, I see a group of people every 2 weeks and I do a coaching call with them. So it's like a group coaching program, the best way to describe it. And in that group, we've talked about, there are people who never raise their hand, who never ask for coaching, and have the biggest smile on their face the entire time they're there. And there's something to be said for witnessing other people doing stuff. And it doesn't mean that person's not taking action in their career, but the witnessing of other people can be so powerful. And I think that, like, we all think about, oh, well, it's community, and yes, community, but there's a difference between, I think, community and watching another actor struggle and figure something out. Before we got on this call, we talked about an actor in the program. We're not going to use her real name, but she's got a 3-letter name, just so Summer knows who we're talking about right now. I'm going to call her Sam. And she has been so consistent at putting herself out there in a way she never imagined before. Right. And I think that, like, what do you mean putting yourself out there? She's going to workshops or whatever. Like, sure, workshops are part of it. And like some version of email going out into the world to say, hey, I exist as a part of it. And what's so wild is, on her like 3rd or 4th email she sent, this manager she knew from a long time ago was like, hey, let's meet. And now she's working with that manager. And it would never have happened if she hadn't said, I'm going to figure out how to feel okay with putting myself out there again and again and again. And I don't know, for you, when you think about this, or when you see those actors kind of wrestle with this putting themselves out there thing, what do you see, or what do you wish for them, Summer, I guess, is because you're on those calls with me, and I'm just wondering what you're noticing when someone's wrestling with that.
Well, I think it's what you said. I think it's powerful to watch it first, because this actor we're talking about is very like productive. She gets shit done. And you know what? Also, though, she has bad days.
Yeah.
And so when you see both of those, sort of as a reflection back to you, I think it gives you some sort of permission to be trying. I don't know if I'm answering your question.
I think you're doing a great job answering this question. Yeah.
To be trying things, to mess it up, to try one thing for a while, to opt out.
Yeah.
And then to try again the second week, and it's a great success, and it's all just part of it.
Yeah. I love what you said. I love that where you went was, this person has good days and bad days, which I think makes it so humanizing. So part of it, what I hear inside of this kind of like some Brené Brown stuff is like, you don't have to armor up and be like, and now I am the person who puts themselves out there and it's all the work is done. That is not actually what anyone's being asked to do. But that each time you put yourself out there, there's going to be a little bit of like, what's the language that makes me feel okay with putting it out there, right? What you're going to say, I see you nodding.
Exactly, because I think the magic of coaching with you specifically actually is that you make sure that we're putting ourselves out there in a very human way.
I appreciate that. I'll take that compliment.
Yeah.
Thanks. Right. Well, I mean, I'm giving away the secret right now. Too often we're trying to look like this perfect, busy, I'm always working actor. And it comes off as braggadocio, or like it comes off as arrogant. It comes off as like the way you don't want to come off.
Right? And then I feel like the next question that comes up is like, utter dread. What about the month when I don't have something to share?
Right. Right.
It doesn't even exist in the way we're talking about it.
Right. Oh, I love it. It doesn't even exist. So I'm going to pull back the curtain a little bit more. So what we're kind of talking about is like, if you're getting yourself on some kind of system of reaching out about once a month or every 6 weeks to the people inside of your network. Now, if you just got scared and nauseous and you need some emotional Tums, keep listening. So yeah, because each month it's like, what am I going to say to them? Well, if you humanize the fact that this business is a business of up and downs, then everyone in the business knows this business is a business of up and downs. And so you get to own that in the messaging and in the way that you're reaching out to people. And I think that I'll just say that like 2020 is not a year to celebrate as like, oh, look how awesome we are. But if it did give us anything, I think it did give us a lot more awareness of the humanity that we all have on this planet and in this industry as well. And so the more you can bring humanity into this, the more you can bring the journey of like, I'm going to give like an okay example. So eat the fish, spit out the bone to this example, but maybe you're going to be like, I didn't book anything or have any great stuff happen in September, but you know what? No one that is in my community ever saw that cool sketch I did. So I'm going to make this messaging that I put out around like, hey, I don't know. I did this really fun sketch and I don't think anyone saw it, but if you're looking for 60 seconds of a chuckle today, here it is. And that's not the perfect way I would write that messaging. I just want to be very clear. I'd probably write it with a lot more humanity inside of it, but I'm wanting to let go of the idea that everything has to be, you did it last week for it to matter.
So the consistency.
Yeah.
Consistency is showing up. The consistency is being human.
Yeah.
It's not consistent wins.
Ooh. Bookings. Yeah, Summer. That's right. The consistency is showing up. The consistency is, what you just said. Yeah. It's not consistent wins. It's not about consistently working. It's about consistently showing up.
And I mean, yeah. Go ahead.
I was going to say that's, I think, but also like if you are someone who's a spiritual believing person, which I am, that's what the universe would say too. That's what God would say too. That's what Buddha, like showing up to your purpose. So it kind of doesn't matter if anyone opens the email or responds or anything. This is your version of saying, I'm going to co-create with what I believe my purpose is on this planet. And then my version of that is showing up to that. This is my version. Will you make mistakes? For sure. Do mistakes get forgiven in this world where you're showing up? Yeah, for sure. Is it worth having someone else look at your email so you don't sound delusional or it's not super boring? 100%. That's why you have a coach, right? Like that's part of why you don't want to sound, so that you can still speak in your own voice, because I think that's the other part of it, right? We want to sound like ourselves. And I think everyone, I would say, not just actors, are challenged by finding language that sounds like our voice when we start to type or we start to put it on a screen. Yeah. I mean, I think that's been a thing for you and I too. Like we didn't realize how much writing do we have to do in this world as people who are reaching out. And, we reach out as both a business and you as an actor. Right. And so that skill becomes, I think it is, you didn't know you were going to need it as much as you need it now. And you're probably real cute. And I would just say everyone listening probably is real cute in their texts or when they're on Tinder flirting with someone and they're trying to be as witty as they possibly can be, right? We got to steal some of that beautiful wit that you have and find a way to put it into messaging that goes out to your network. Right.
I think when people first come to us, we do see a lot of good student style writing.
Mm-hmm.
And you can just spot it right away. It's like a nice, 5-paragraph essay, cover letter with a thesis, and like it's so good intentioned. It's like so full of art, but like just delete. It's not gonna. It's just not gonna.
Right. And so I'm just going to kind of speak. We believe in this writing thing so much that inside of Actor Operating System, we have a copywriting masterclass every single month. And I always think that hour I get to spend with the members in this community where I'm walking through why this sentence works and why this one doesn't is like, your mind is like like you become so much smarter after just an hour of that time together, because you had no idea that, if I put this word at the beginning of the sentence, how much more does it make sense how much more engaged will someone be? And this phrasing didn't sound like a human being. This sounds like I'm not acknowledging the situation here. I was writing something the other day and I was like, can we please retire the strategy of I'm going to Google this casting director and find something interesting about them. And then I'm going to mention that in my email. Which is like, yes, thank you, 2005. You can have your strategy back. You can also have back the phrase. You have to remember this business the show business is a business. Like, it's like so old. Like we're beyond that now. We have to be beyond that. And the truth is, by Googling them and pretend learning something about them, what you're actually doing is like, you're making me see how fake the connection is, because you're making it about them instead of making it about you. Because the vulnerability is in reaching out from your point of view, which is like, hey, Steve, we've never met before, period. I saw XYZ 1, 2, 3, and I've been meaning to send this email for 3 months, but so many things got in the way of me getting here first. So I'm reaching out to you now to say, I know this is a small business and I hope that there's a day when we work together. I wish you all the luck and success and all the stuff you rest do. I will keep my eye on you. If you care to keep your eye on me, here's a link to my website to learn a little bit more about me. No matter what, I'm glad you're out there making art. And I hope that there'll be a day when our paths cross. Like, that is a fan letter that isn't a fan letter. Do you know what I mean? That is I am acknowledging that we are in the same business. What were you going to say? Something I saw.
Yeah. I mean, I just noticed even when you did that example, like your voice was dropped in a certain way. I wonder if that's a test even. Like, when you read this email, do you puff up and start to like give a presentation when you read it? Or are you able to just be like, yo, here I am. I saw this about you. Hit me up if you want.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. And so part of what I just think I'm going to steal that trick somewhere, because like where you in your voice when you read the email out loud? And I'm a big fan of like, read the shit out loud, walk in your living room and read it on your phone. And does it sound like the way you talk? And then I also think I'm going to give everybody a little trick here is like, everyone is reading emails on their phone. So whatever email you're intending to send, like send it to your phone or look at it in drafts or something, so you can see the way that it lays out, because the format of an email does actually pack a punch. Because if I see these huge paragraphs, I'm like, oh, who is this Looney Tunes? Like, we just don't write huge paragraphs anymore. It's just not the way. It's not the way. Right. And so I think that that's a good trick also, just like, what does it look like on the page? Like, can you make it look a little interesting in the format? I'm not saying like get weird, but I'm saying like, can you make it look at least a little more like, I'm not going to feel like I'm reading a novel when I open this thing.
Can I talk about another red flag?
Totally. Yeah.
Too many places to click.
Oh, we talk about this all the time. Mm-hmm. So, and I realize we're suddenly really focused on messaging today. And I realize that's such a huge part of marketing, which is why we should be talking about this. But yeah, if you give someone 1 million places to click in your email, I'm lost and you lose control of the narrative. It's such a clear to me. It's a clear to me what you're saying to the person. If I'm the person reading your email and I've got multiple places to click, you're leaving me like a choose your own adventure kind of moment. And the truth is, I think it's a cop out from you not having a clear enough intention of what you want that person to see or watch or learn about you. When I was talking about marketing, I always say there's different intentions. You want them to feel something. You want them to notice something. You want them to do something. Feel, notice, to do. Is there one more that I always talk about, Summer? I can't remember. Feel, notice, do.
Oh, I think that's it.
Is that okay? Yeah. I want you to feel something. I want you to notice something. I want you to do something. Right. So if you want them to do something, is that like, I want them to come to see my live improv show. I want them to notice something. I want you to notice that I was called in for this job, whatever. I want you to feel something. I want to make you laugh. So if you can speak to one of those three things throughout your entire messaging, then you're probably going to make an impact. And so you kind of use that as an editing tool is one way to say that. And yeah, that's how I think about that.
Can I ask a question about that?
Yeah.
I was kind of wondering, like, is that something you do at the beginning, or is that more a tool in your toolkit if something feels off?
Such a good question. Here's what I think. I think as you become a better writer, you don't have to think of it beforehand. I think as a beginning writer, you'll want to use that tool right away. So am I intending for someone to notice something about me, feel something, notice something could be not about you. It could be like, whatever, but notice something, feel something, or do something. I think using it in the beginning when you're a beginner writer is a great, and I would just say like, call yourself a beginner writer until you don't use this tool anymore is a good way to think of it. But later, I think you use this at the end when you're like going back to edit it at the very end. You're kind of like, did it work? Did this do what I wanted it to do? And I think you've seen this with me when I write emails that I send, like they're really long and I'm like, okay, cut. Like I have to write it all out. And then I realize, oh, I'm making an impact without this. And then sometimes I think, in a day and an age when we use GIFs and we put videos and things like that inside of our emails, we have to remember our image carries story. And so sometimes I get to ditch some of what I'm saying because, oh, the picture did it yesterday. I'm just thinking about an email that we sent yesterday that was for the podcast actually. And it's like got an animated little GIF and like it says, what is, I was like, oh, I cut like 3 paragraphs from that email. I was like, oh, this GIF does a lot of the work for me. I just need to make sure the person who's going to scroll past the photo at least knows what I'm talking about here. So that's another thing. And, I'm going to be fully transparent. All this conversation we're having, we're going to go really deep on in this workshop we're having this month called Become Offer Only. And I think that actors, we think that offer only is something that only happens for like Nicole Kidman and super famous people. But let's remember that the reason why you become offer only is because people know who you are. They know, like, and trust you, and they know your work. And they're like, this person can do the job. Right. So at the place where most actors are in their career, you've met some people. You've met some casting directors. You've met some writers, directors, producers. You've got a couple things on your resume, probably, if not a lot. And everyone you worked with, I just want to make sure everyone hears this because I wish someone said this to me when I was 22 years old. By the way, I'm only 23. Is everyone around you is hustling too. So that person who worked on that stupid student film that you were like, it was horrible, blah, 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 is a way better filmmaker now than they were when they made that student film. And they're hustling all this time. And now they're directing TV, right? I'm thinking of a DP that I know. One of my films that I booked in New York City, he just was the DP on the HBO show I Know This Much Is True with Mark Ruffalo. And I was like, oh, and then I'm like, yep, I know him. Yep, know that guy, right? So because I had worked with him on a student film ages ago. And so everyone is hustling around you. And what we tend to do is keep focusing on who's the next person I need to meet, when there's all these people you've met that are hustling and doing work that you would love to be a part of, but you're always focused, I think, right in front of you. What's the next audition? And neglecting all these people who are working and hustling all around you who would love to be like, oh my God, Summer, let's not have auditions. Let's just have Summer do this job. Yes, please. Right. And so that's what this workshop is all about. It's called Become Offer Only. If you can go to the URL, Become Offer Only, I'd love to see you there. And it is really devoted to what we've talked about today. It's like getting your messaging clear enough and finding a way to keep those people in your network, a part of your network so that you actually love up on them. You've been neglecting them for way too long. They want your attention. What's the face you just made?
I'm just noticing that like the takeaways that you're going to get from drilling down on this, putting yourself out there, this writing thing, they're really applicable to other places. One, social media.
Yeah. Oh God, everyone barfed in their mouth just now, but go ahead.
But as far as Instagram,
yeah.
I mean, exactly what you were saying in your episode with Heidi.
Yeah.
And then also in real life, as far as the way you talk about networking, of just leading with your humanity rather than your wins, being curious about the other person, just being humans together.
Yeah. Yeah. And here's the part that is the part that just kind of made me take a breath is you just like yourself so much more when you're working at that level. Like that's the big secret behind, I would say, Summer, you know, the secret behind this entire business is I want people to like themselves and love themselves and be great,
Yeah.
be great citizens of the planet. Right. And I think that when you are operating from we're all humans in this business. We all know this business has up and downs. I also think one thing that actors should remember as well is everyone knows that actors usually have more than one job. Like this is like blanket statements that everyone in the business knows. So like the hiding of like, I'm just going to show them an actor. I'm never going to let them know the rest about me. That's like the opposite of creating a relationship. Right.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's why even these newsletters or whatever you're putting out into the world, whether that's a newsletter or an email or postcard or whatever it is, doesn't have to only have to do with acting. Now, I promise you, there are going to be someone is going to tell you, how dare you tell me this? You're doing it wrong. Why did you bother to tell me about that commercial you booked? You should only be talking to me about theatrical projects because I'm a theatrical casting director. Someone might say that to you. Right. And there's a part of me that says, cool, I'm not going to give all of my power to that one voice, because I like who I'm being right now. And that there is no such thing as a blacklist that everyone's keeping on me, that like no one has enough time to keep a blacklist for you. Let's like let go of our ego because there's no one's doing that. Right. And so the reason why I want to just point this out is don't let that itty bitty shitty committee get formed and let them run your business, let them run your career, let them run your purpose. Because that's what can happen. The one voice that says you did this wrong, or I don't like how you did this, or why are you sending this to me, becomes your board of directors. And it just says like your entire career becomes so small and contained. And so many people talk about like, I don't want to play small anymore. This is what playing small is. Playing small is listening to that one or two voices that have scarred you in the past, or you're worried about them. I think a lot of people will write their messaging for the dipshits. They don't write their messaging for the ones who love them.
Mm-hmm.
I'm writing my messaging for strangers who've never met me before. I'm writing a messaging because I'm afraid someone's going to not like that, as opposed to I'm writing a messaging for the ones that are already on my side. And so you're shortchanging the ones that are most likely to give you an offer. Right.
And just to talk out if that really did happen, which is like the worst case scenario,
right?
What Brian just described. Great. You know, what happens is you make a note, you take them off your newsletter, and you reach out personally to them every 6 weeks or every 2 months. No problem.
Yeah. And also what's so lovely about that is you go, oh, heck, great to know that about you. I didn't know. I would love to connect with you personally. Like you acknowledge the not mistake. You don't say, I'm sorry. Don't say, unfortunately, you didn't do anything wrong. Right. So you're not going to acknowledge any mistake. You're say, oh my gosh, that is so great to know. I will remember that you love to be reached out to personally, and I will keep track of that. And I'm so glad that we're connected in that way. So thank you so much for responding. Right. So you kind of like, we don't have to slap the wound is what we call it in our business, is like that person knows they were jerking to you or whatever. It's like, I'm so sorry. Like that is not the approach we take. Right. Because that's just going to make the error, I put in quotes, deeper. And I also want to be clear, like, messaging isn't the only part of what I would talk about in coaching, right? So also coaching is like the way that you're relating to yourself. One of the things we talked about, Summer and I, before we get on here, is there's this thing that happens where you feel better about yourself. And so you make better decisions. And so when you're on these coaching calls, these group coaching calls where you're witnessing other people, you're going, oh, I'm not working on what Kelly's working on right now, but 2 months from now I might be. I already have that knowledge. And so it's kind of like I believe your learning kind of becomes accelerated because you've already got a plan for when that's going to happen for you. Or, oh my gosh, I didn't even think about doing that for my own career. That's such a great idea. Let me pull some of that in to see how I can make that my own. And I think that's a huge part of what people do inside of AOS, inside of Actor Operating System, is see that witnessing, right?
Yes, like by osmosis, your cells understand. You don't even need to like take notes because you were there.
Yeah. And then what I also love is like you and I both know that the work happens not during a coaching. During the coaching, things get moved around inside your brain. And then the actor goes off and has to do whatever accountability they've come up with. Right. And so in that moment, that's when I want the voices of, oh yeah, Kelly from group asked this question and Brian gave her this advice. And oh, I heard what she said to Amanda. And it's all coming in these the opposite of the itty bitty shitty committee is there to say, here's the wind beneath your wings to follow through on this task that you said you're going to do. And then if you got stuck, I'm seeing you in 2 weeks anyway, we can rehash it again. The other thing that I did lately, I don't know if you've noticed this, but we've had a lot of conversations about representation, like a lot. And I think that's part of our population, more of the actors in our program have reps right now. And so that's why we're having these conversations, which is a great thing. But representation, I always say like, it's all the mishigas in your brain of like, what do they represent to you and what are they supposed to do for you? And like, how do we evaluate someone in a relationship where there is a real bottom line? Like there is a business element to it. And I just think that, what we hold inside of the group is such a humanity for managers and agents and who they are. And how do we also hold accountable in a way that allows us not to just be like, whatever happens, happens. And like, I'm just going to go meditate on it and it's going to solve the problem. Like there's the real world. We're on a planet right now where there are black and white things that need to be happening. And so to me, an actor with a representation problem, I think often can feel very stuck and feel very, I don't know what to do.
I can't ask my dad for like business advice on this. He's not going to know. He is going to have no idea.
Right. My boyfriend will be like, so wait, they're not getting auditions. Why didn't they just leave them? What do you mean? Like he would be very like, what's the ROI on this? Why is it not, what are they working? What's it like? He's like very flat, black and white. Like it's not quite that. It's a little more nuanced than that. Right. And so what I think is
want to like kiss their ass.
Right.
That feels awful.
And then you don't like yourself. And then all of a sudden you set up a relationship where you're kissing their ass. And so one of the things I like about seeing an actor every 2 weeks is again, like, okay, what happened this week? What's going on? Have you been the best client you could be? If so, now we get to take a look back and see how they're doing their job. And then there's this other thing of like, we have to admit sometimes reps are at a level as well. There are doors they can open and doors they can't open. And that conversation is really nuanced. So I think that's important to get coaching around that piece of it, of course, right?
And you're also different. Like it's different in different markets. Each reps tend to have different personalities.
Yeah.
Like even if you've done it before, it could feel all new again. If you're suddenly with someone new or suddenly with a manager when you only had an agent before.
No, I love what you just said, because I'm just thinking about one of our other clients who tends to ask a lot of questions. And you said, even if you've done it before, it tends to feel all new again. Like it is a whole new relationship, right? It is a whole new, like, even if you feel like you know the ins and outs of the business, you're dealing with a human being who's trying to do their job. And are they doing it the way you need it? Like, how's it all working? And all that is to say is, I guess, Summer and I believe in coaching, I guess is the bottom line of what we're kind of trying to say here, though. But I think the reason I want to be, the bigger thing about this is we believe in actors. We believe in the impact they can make. And we want to acknowledge that there's a day-to-dayness to our business that isn't like a 9 to 5, which I think we get on the, like, on your calendar, it's not a 9 to 5. We get that piece of it, but there's also not a 9 to 5 of like, on Mondays we do this and on Tuesdays we do this. And I went, right. And there are some pieces that should be consistent, like putting yourself out there, which we've talked about, but there's the wildly inconsistent of my agents are great this month and they're not great this month. And that's where I think building the consistency around the things that you can, and then having this emotional bandwidth and someone to bounce ideas off of so that you're making clarity around those things that are not consistent in a career, that you can come up with a plan, right? And the answer to getting to your career isn't just like send a newsletter, it's all solved. Like that is not the answer to everyone's career. But if you're not sending something out in a consistent way, that's the first place to look. Like quit running around trying everything new. Ava Perone, you need to be doing this. And I think that's why I'm so excited about this workshop. So, I can't stop. I'll quit plugging my own workshop, but Become Offer Only is like, I'm so excited about it because I know that it's going to give people the first step and the foundation to creating something where they get the right attention, get the right eyes on them instead of chasing more eyeballs. And that's what I think a lot of people end up doing in the business. Yeah. So I swallowed there. Did you hear me swallow? I was like choking on my own excitement. Um, anything else we didn't get to cover today, Summer, that we wanted to talk about? Anyway, a little list.
Can I tell a little story?
Yeah, go for it.
So I was out to dinner one night on my shoot. I was sitting with like the grip and the B cam operator. And I was telling them of how everything's on tape now and just kind of having that conversation. Oh, there's pros and cons about it. We used to go into the room. Some people like that. You have creative control, which is great. But then, oh God, now I have this creative control. I better send a perfect take, blah, blah, blah. That whole thing. And somehow we got on to like getting feedback. And I was like, oh, well, your feedback is generally like if you get a call back. And they were just like shocked. They were like, Brian, you're muted. Did you know that? Oh, you're muted. Okay, great. We'll edit that out. But they were shocked. Like, your feedback is if you get a call back, you don't hear anything other than that. I was like, oh yeah, it's not a big deal. It's just the way it is. You know, I've been doing it for 10 years. It's the lay of the land. So I don't know. All that to say is sometimes I try to remind myself that, you know, it's a business, it's acting. There's lots of different businesses out there. It's not so special. It's not so unique, but like actually it is.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I mean, I'm sure if you were talking to an accountant, they could find a way to relate to what you just said, I'm sure. But in the experience of that, yeah, you don't get feedback, right? You don't have anybody saying, hey, you're doing a good job. Hey, you're doing the right thing, right? And I think that the thing that I love about actors is that continual, oh, well, I trust myself here. This is the thing I'm supposed to do. I trust myself that I'm putting myself out. And that's where I think like we need that calisthenics of confidence of like some coach or someone around who is like saying, keep going, keep going. But the world should be shocked. Yeah, but the world should be shocked by the courage of actors, Summer. I think that is what you saw, that the grip and the camera operator is like, holy cow. That is what you have to do as an actor. And I think the world should be shocked by the courage and the willingness to put yourself out there and should see the value of that. I've always said that the book that I want to write is what actors can teach everyone else. And I think that's, you just encapsulated that so beautifully of the awe that someone can have in, wow, you do that again and again. Like that's what you put out there, which is very different. I can imagine than the grip, like the sound sounds good or the lights sound good. I forget what a grip does. Yeah. Right. And so I think that captured, what I love about actors. Well, Summer, thanks for this idea of getting on here and talking like this. I loved it today. This is cool.
Anytime.
I loved it. If anybody has questions about anything we talked about today, you know where to find us. If you want to see this conversation live on YouTube, you can head on over because we always share this unedited version of this. So you can see us giggling and me licking the cap to my Starbucks coffee as we were talking here today. If you want to join us to become offer only for that foundational step in making that happen, it's becomeofferonly.com. And there's a bunch of bonuses and stuff lined up inside of that. So I would love to help you do that. And part of why I think now is the perfect time to do this is we've got 2022 around the corner. And resolutions don't start on January 1. I think you can start a resolution now of like, I'm going to make 2022 the year that I stay in touch with my network, or the year that I ignite my network, which is better than just staying in touch with them. Then this class is the perfect like launching pad for that. And I've poured my heart and soul into it, and I like could not be more excited about it. And my dream is like, yes, will you audition again? Of course. Should you also be receiving offers from people? 100%. At the place where most of my listeners are, you've done enough work where you should 100% be getting people who just call and say, hey, will you do this commercial with us? Or would you come in for this job? Like being offered an audition instead of you and your reps being the only ones reaching out. And this is the first step. So thanks for listening to us, like kind of gush about what we love to talk about, I think today. Yeah, Summer? Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right, y'all. If you have questions, you know where to find us. You can always DM me at Brian Says That on Instagram, or shoot me an email, Brian@brianpattacca. All right. Have a beautiful week. I'll talk to y'all soon. Thank you, Summer.
Bye.
Bye.